Hi everyone and welcome to Bioequestrian. Do you want to learn how to ride a horse and don't know what riding school to choose, how to find one, or maybe you're wondering if your riding school is okay? If so, you're in luck. We will try to keep it nice and short. We will also tell you how to actually look for riding schools. First of all, let's establish who is going to attend the lessons. Before you choose the nearest riding school, let's set your priorities straight. There is a chance that the nearest riding school will turn out to be the best choice, but oftentimes that's not the case. Parents, in particular, are guided only by this parameter, thus ending up in expensive and overcrowded places with overworked horses. If you are an adult looking for a riding school, you need to pay attention to different things than people looking to teach their child horseback riding. I'll post an exemplary list of priorities in a moment. Take a look at how it fits for you and let me know if something is missing. Why is it different for children? With children, nothing can be assumed. Today, it's a girl fascinated by My Little Pony, or a boy wanting to ride like a cowboy, and tomorrow it's a young parent or an athlete at the Olympics. It is a huge responsibility to take care of proper development, a good foundation, safety, and pleasure at the same time. With adults, the change is also easier and less emotional, so the stable can be adjusted more at a moment's notice as well. In addition, we all get attached to a favorite instructor and have more and more trust in them. But children definitely tend to do that more. If we don't find a good match, learning will drag on and we will pay endlessly for mediocre progress. Prioritize. Answer some questions and make a list of your own priorities. It's worth making one for yourself and after some time seeing how your priorities and expectations change. This way you are not holding back your progress and can easily assess your current situation. If you are looking for a riding school as an adult, make sure your riding school of choice is doing everything they can to get you riding in the 3 basic gaits as fast as possible. Firstly, you need to find out if horse riding is something you fully enjoy, and then you can perfect the details. Here are some questions to answer before you start searching for a riding school. Number 1 is time. How much time can you spend getting to and back from the stable, in addition to the lesson itself? You can count the lesson itself as an hour activity at first, then about 2 hours because you usually have to prepare the horse. Determining how much time you can spend driving to and from your riding school will help you narrow down the area in which you can look for stables. Well, and you will partially determine the days in which you have enough free time to go to a riding lesson. Usually, if you can ride a horse on your day off, you can also afford to drive further away, and of course consider the means of transportation. You won't get to every stable easily and quickly without a car. Next is the reason. Why do you actually want to learn horse riding? General development, improving your physical health, an enjoyable activity to compete in competitions, learning before buying your own horse because it's gotten more popular and your friends are practicing it. We list here only a few really popular reasons. Each of them causes different people to make different choices. At number 3, we have the main need resulting from the reason. If it is, for example, general development, you need a stable where each lesson is focused on something different. If you want to have a pleasant time, you need to pay attention to the atmosphere in the stable, the social facilities, and the surroundings so that you enjoy it. To compete in competitions, you need a riding school where the students actually go to competitions. Then it's easier to compete more often, train, and actually go to shows. If that's your goal, then it's best to ask the competing riders simply what stable they train at or look at the competition lists. If you want to improve your physical condition, you need rested horses that are not spurred. Some stables, for example, offer lessons in vaulting, a great way to improve the flexibility and strength of the whole body. If you want to learn before you buy your own horse, then pay attention to whether the students do additional activities with horses, whether there's time for it, and whether the instructor pays attention to it. If this is the case, you should also consider leasing a horse. If you need an extension of the topic, see our video on how to buy a horse and not go crazy. Because it's trendy, because friends do it, this is a very common reason and we are not afraid to speak about it. In this situation, pay extra attention to the reviews of the stable. You don't want to start in a stable that is perceived badly in the community. You also need quick progress and results so you can enjoy riding with your friends as soon as possible and a standard that's right for you. Also, pay attention to the stable's rules regarding, for example, recording other people's rides. In the age of the internet, this is insanely important. At number 4, we have the price. Here we will perhaps be unpopular, but this is the parameter of least importance. It is worth paying even 2 or 3 times as much for a lesson that causes you to make actual progress than to ride around for low prices. In our opinion, it is better to ride less often, but according to your own priorities. The price depends on your time. The more time you have to drive to your chosen stable and the further you can go, the easier it will be to find one that meets all conditions at a low price. Your very own priorities. Is there something else that is very important to you? Maybe you need to travel with your family and need a restaurant next door. For example, maybe you have a dog and definitely need to take it with you. If nothing else comes to mind additionally, bet on the good appearance and condition of the horses. Next, we've got the symptoms. These are good symptoms you can observe in a stable, that is, those things that even a beginner can notice. Good condition of the horses. This topic is difficult even for the trained eye, so I hint at what I pay attention to first. The ribs. Visible ribs and skinny horses are as unacceptable to me as in a dog. There is no excuse for this. Such a horse cannot work and should undergo convalescence in the pasture until it returns to proper shape. Next up, we've got the hooves. Just as our nails, the hooves are supposed to be nice, shiny, and not broken. It should be remembered that this is their working tool. A stable that does not know how to take care of it should be put out of your list. The hooves with or without horseshoes are supposed to be functional. Varicose veins and swellings, especially on the legs. Anything that looks strange is strange. If there is a lot of it, I tend to avoid the stable. Horses during the lessons should have some boots on their legs, so at first you can miss it, but you can see what it looks like in the stable or when tucking up. You don't want to ride a lame horse. The hair. Any rubs are unwelcome. There may be some resulting from pasture enjoyment, but none where the equipment lies on the horse, around the saddle or bridle. The coat should be shiny and healthy. Not all horses have beautiful tails, just as not all people have lush curls, so we don't look at the tail and mane too closely. Lameness. You don't want to learn on a lame horse. However, if you have doubts about this, simply ask the owner kindly. Most older horses have had some sort of health problems in their lives. Often these are chronic conditions, old injuries that exclude these horses from competitive riding, which nevertheless do not exclude horses from further use, although their way of moving is not quite clean. Such a horse would nevertheless be better off going to walks and rides than being forgotten about somewhere in the last end of the paddock. However, if you care about the stronger and more demanding use of the horse, then pay special attention to this. A lot, as you can see, depends on priorities. You need to think about them very well and stick to them. Good basics. After a year of regular riding twice a week or about 100 hours, every rider should have solid basics in the 3 gaits. In my opinion, 10 to 20 hours of lunging is enough to start with. If you realize that someone has been only trotting for a year and hasn't cantered once yet, it's like taking a year to learn the ABCs of a new language. Try to observe advanced riders and see if they all sit and ride in the same way and how correct it is. To make it easier, here I am showing you guys the picture with 3 typical problems and the correct one. If each rider slightly deviates from the ideal, everything is okay. It is not okay if everyone makes the same mistake, because it means that the basics taught here are wrong. That's why I put a lot of emphasis on competitive students, to make sure I get solid education and not necessarily to actually compete. Also, pay attention to whether the horses are matched in height to the riders. If a young child rides on a big horse, this isn't an ideal situation, but although it is detrimental to the further development of the child in the sport and to its hips, it can still be worse. If, on the other hand, you see people clearly too big for the horses they ride, then run away. The variety of the lessons. I pay attention to whether the lessons are different from one another, regardless of the rider's level. If every ride looks the same, everyone else repeats the same exercise, and there is one sad-looking pole on the riding arena, the same one every day, then the lessons aren't very good. Often it is the case that the instructor focuses on one particular element during the day, but if you come another time, the lesson should look a little different. This is one of the reasons why it's worth looking at the riding school a few times to see what the lessons look like on a weekly basis. The atmosphere. It must be cool but not too cool. Stick to your priorities and your goals. If there's an amazing, friendly atmosphere, that's great because you must like being at your riding school. However, you don't actually want to spend tons of hours there, unless that's what your priority is. There's also a clear correlation between the friendliness and the speed of your progress. You learn faster by having goals set, time to meet them, and testing your knowledge. This is a bit stressful and not always super nice, but if you care about your progress, you need a work atmosphere, not a party and rest kind of atmosphere. Take this into consideration as well. Next up, we've got the equestrian standard. Indoor arena, outside riding arena, and trail rides. You will need all of these elements in varying degrees depending on your priorities just now. Often when looking at the riding school in the summer, we love the bench by the pond and the wonderful riding arena. Just as often in autumn, the arena is drowned in puddles and the bench by the pond no longer is as great as we thought. We begin to need an indoor arena. And here the question is how many people will fit at once in such an indoor, and whether the number of participants in the lesson is already adapted to the size in the summer. If you see 20 people on the outside arena and the inside accommodates 4 horses, then you can already expect problems with riding in winter or riding rather freezing outside. Trail rides. Sometimes we are in for a surprise. We think that since the stable is next to a forest, it is obvious that they do trail rides. Well, not necessarily. There are forests with a ban on entry. Sometimes there are designated paths. Sometimes the surrounding fields are owned by people with an aversion to horses. Sometimes, too, the priorities of the stable are different. For example, it may be competition-oriented and treat the trail rides only as a warm-up walk. So no canter and wind in the hair for you. It is worth asking specifically how often they do trail rides. What do they do exactly? What kind of system do they have? Often our perceptions have nothing to do with the reality. The list of rules and regulations. Every stable should have one, and it's not about hanging it and calling it a day. It's important that the rules are reinforced. This is easy to recognize. If there are rules in the riding school, then you are informed about it somewhere around the entrance. How? The first test is the gate. People sometimes fall, horses escape, it happens. Smart stables are secured from the entrance so that nothing bad happens. The staff also usually tells you where you are allowed to be and where you are not. They keep an eye on the behavior of bystanders, for example, horse feeding, which is kind of a nightmare for any stable. The staff should inform you about regulations regarding feeding the horses, or you should find a sign at the front of the stable or at the horses' stalls informing you about it. Believe us, you want to be in a stable where there is formal order. Then fewer accidents happen. I will give you 3 examples that perhaps better illustrate the matter. Number 1, feeding the horses. Usually forbidden and possible only with the permission of the owner. Horses are sometimes allergic or have diseases that prevent them from eating different things. Feeding such a horse with, say, a ban can end it in its death in agony, and this is in no way exaggerated. Number 2, dogs. This should also be noted in the rules. Most stables have cats, often dogs. The stable animals know their duties and they are trained to behave with people and other animals. But visiting dogs aren't. Delighted at the sight of a child, a small energetic barking dog will often spook a horse and another child can fall. This can be very dangerous. Clothes, equipment, strollers, umbrellas, running children, horses see as monsters that invade their home and world. A horse spooked by such behavior can try to save its life and run over everything in its way, including people. It is for your safety as riders that these rules are enforced, and I repeat, you very much want them to be obeyed. The basic facilities aspect. Your comfort will be greatly affected by the overall facilities in the stable. When looking for a stable, it is easy to overlook certain aspects, and here are some examples. The toilets and sinks are important. You will use them occasionally, and it is important that they are at least acceptable. Don't expect extra clean toilets, since we all go in there right after all lessons and in our stable shoes. But the state of the toilets should at least be acceptable. Indoor and outdoor arena and trails. You will need all of these elements in varying degrees, depending on your priorities just now. Sometimes it will be important to be able to eat, warm up, or change clothes. Think about what's important to you and especially what your post-lesson activities will look like. It's uncomfortable to shop while spreading the intense scent of horses around. When do I run? Up first, backing and bolting horses. It's not a matter of the horses being naughty, but definitely a matter of their treatment and training. Please take a look at the video on strange horse behaviors and you will probably be surprised how many of these behaviors can be avoided. Number 2, horses shaking their heads or apathetic and sad. This can be the result of stress, pain, and improper feeding. Number 3, children working in the stable instead of professional service. Often children work for lessons, helping with cleaning, saddling, feeding the horses, and this is nothing wrong, but harder work should be done by stable staff. Even feeding hay to horses is hard physical work. A stable that does not have qualified staff has financial and organizational problems. Approach the matter very carefully. During the first lessons, we hold on to the saddle or the handle. This is not a modern approach to teaching balance. Improper basics mean a very time-consuming and hard correction later. The exception is tiny children on little walks with the instructor holding the lead rope, but here you cannot talk about learning to ride. If the instructor's clues on the first ride for beginners are about one's own seat, such as the famous heels down, instead of proposing some exercises, you should rethink staying in that riding school. A beginner should perform exercises until his body settles properly on its own. Otherwise, such lessons result in stiffening the body instead of gaining more freedom of movement. Lack of clear answers to the when questions. For example, when will I ride alone? When will I go on a trail ride? Of course, each person is individual and different, but experience should allow the instructor to say that it usually takes, let's say, 60 to 100 hours, or for example, 10. If there is no clear answer, you can ask students how much time they have been learning in the stable for and determine on your own whether that level of progress is okay with you. Instructors getting on school horses during lessons, usually saying something along the lines of "calm down and I'll show you." An instructor is supposed to be a person who sees problems and helps you solve them, not solve them for you. We know that an instructor has to know how to ride, but an instructor and a rider are completely different jobs. A good instructor is most often no longer a good rider, and vice versa. Remember, you're paying for lesson time, so it's not best for your learning and your pocket if that time is used by someone else. You can always arrange with your instructor to watch together better riders' competitions, his own rides at a completely different time. You can also always watch someone simply on YouTube. Wasting time saddling, cleaning, getting on. Prolonging riding time without progress with such activities. Long explanations at a standstill, the horse doesn't get tired and the rider doesn't learn, and the instructor explains what he can explain after the ride. It's a bit of your time and you want to make the most of each lesson. A whole bunch of people watching lessons. Comments on what someone is doing wrong. I allow watching lessons. It's nice to hear a side comment that something is right or looks nice, but correcting riders and remarks that something is worth doing differently belongs to the trainer or the instructor. Any other habit is simply lack of culture. Moving on to the pro tip. Nowadays, everything is on the internet. You can find a lot of information on equestrian portals. However, you will find the most information and recommendations on groups on Facebook, in our opinion. Other social networks like Instagram or TikTok will also come to your aid and will probably take over this role over time. In the meantime, get into some equestrian groups on Facebook and simply ask a question. Mostly you will get good recommendations. You can also, of course, message us directly. It may happen that the school you like does not currently have open terms. It is sometimes worth waiting for the better option. Often someone cancels during the year, quite a few places are cleared up in the less nice months and during holidays. It's worth doing a second search in November, December, February and March, as well as July and August. These most beautiful and enjoyable mounts are usually heavily staffed. It's also worth going further out of town. Often the standard of service is better and the lessons are less commercial and more in-depth. Also, don't count too much on the I pay so I demand approach. Most stables provide you with horses and equipment which is very expensive to buy. Most were also established for the love of equestrian sport or horses per se. Practically no one counts on a return of money through horses. The only return they get from you is on basic living costs and salaries. A person who mentally or physically ruins a horse, treats them like an object just to ride on, will probably be asked to step out of such places and never come back. A good customer is not the one who pays a lot, but the one who respects the riding school's work and time spent preparing comfortable conditions for them. Also, people who come regularly and benefit the horses not only with their money but also comfort and development are more valued. Remember that, after all, at least half of the horses in riding schools are young animals that have older development ahead of them. Harmonious work on their posture, muscles, and psyche is also in the hands of the school's clients. A bit like a new person at the first job, they need to be taken care of. If you have some free time on your hands, take a look at our video on horse schooling. We kind of present it all there, but this video will give you a different perspective on the horse's reality. And in the meantime, subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and check out our social media. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later.